No, guys, not today. Seriously, Carl said. I have to pick up my mother-in-law from the bus station. What are you talking about? This is actually a double reason to drink, the somewhat tipsy birthday boy Richard grinned. For me, your foreman, it's a happy occasion, despite the fact that us men are wiped out in various ways. I've made it to 42, but your mother-in-law's arrival is sad news. Carl, drinking, replied, one thing doesn't interfere with another. You can both relieve the stress of your mother-in-law's arrival and drink a shot for me. You'll meet her with a taxi. The arrival of a mother-in-law is, of course, a disaster. Richard liked to play philosopher, especially when he was a bit drunk. What, is she arriving by bus? And without waiting for a response, he continued, do these witches have brooms they fly on? And yours suddenly comes by bus? The foreman joked and laughed at his own joke. Richard stopped, putting on the nerves. Carl was indignant. It's bad enough without you, and now you're whining. I called my mother-in-law myself. I need her. All the guys in the crew stared at Carl as if he were a lunatic, while Richard continued his philosophical speeches. And, brother, what got into you? Are you sick? Why do you need a mother-in-law in your house? Is your wife not enough for you? It might turn out, guys, that my wife will soon not be around. Let me tell you, and each of us will envy, Richard rambled. Neither your wife nor her mother, it's not life, but a constant resort. And what did your little lady find? Someone else? Dave asked. I don't know, Carl sighed heavily. But she was thinking about divorcing me. I asked if she found someone else, and she said she was tired of this boring life with me. She doesn't see or hear anything good from me, just everyday routine, and I ruined her youth. And she's fat and unattractive now, and it's also because of me. Because on my miserable salary, as she says, she can't afford a fitness trainer, healthy food, Botox, and other women's stuff. Yeah, complaints, Dave, the motorcyclist, said. Our women have watched too many trendy series, and they think real life is like those series. Mine also sometimes gives me a hard time, but then she calms down. And what does your Mindy think? That she'll get all that without you? Richard asked. Who knows what she thinks, but she went and filed for divorce, Carl replied. Divorce? Well then, get a divorce. So what if she's a noble lady? Richard advised. Give women a little freedom, and they'll sit on their heads and dangle their legs. Right now, Richard, that's not your business. Carl flared up. It's easy to give advice when you're already divorced. I feel sorry for my daughter. When she found out that her mother filed for divorce, she cries every day. Do you think your mother-in-law will be able to help you? Our wives are just like their mothers, Dave, the motorcyclist, said. She'll arrive, and together with Mindy, they'll start nagging you. I don't know, but I don't want a divorce, Carl replied. Let Mindy think she's fat and unattractive to me. She's the most desirable, and my daughter, I'm used to seeing her every day. As soon as I come home from work, she runs to me and hugs me. She's 12 now, and not a day has passed without her meeting me. If we divorce, I'll become a weakened dad, and some stranger will be raising her. We've been living with Mindy for 14 years, and everything was good between us. And then, suddenly, I don't know what got into her, Carl said. They say men have a midlife crisis, but probably women don't escape it either. I don't want to lose my family. Yeah, she's found another man, mark my words, Richard concluded. Women don't just act out for no reason. You should plan a romantic evening for her, Dave advised. You know, flowers and candles, champagne, and a gift, of course. Maybe like a fitness subscription for a month. Maybe that would help her. Mine didn't last more than 2 weeks at that fitness place. You have to work hard there too, and then she saw fit young girls there, and now her complexes won't let her go back. Now she's into belly dancing, and there are women just like her, shaking their bellies. The tipsy guys laughed, and Carl just waved his hand toward Dave. I tried that romantic stuff, but she just lashed out at me, Carl explained. She said I was so bad that I decided to use my cheap tricks to enslave her again. So, guys, you continue celebrating, Richard, and I'll head to the bus station to pick up my mother-in-law, he said, and headed for the exit. Hello, what's going on here? Chickened out, huh? The mother-in-law was questioning, unloading her bags from the bus trunk. Just a moment, Mom. We'll go, and I'll tell you everything, Carl replied. Carl had never called his mother-in-law Mom before. He never addressed her at all, but for some reason, he called her Mom now. The mother-in-law even stopped unloading her endless bags and looked at her son-in-law intently. The mother-in-law said in a sing-song voice, it seems something serious happened. Carl loaded the village goodies into the car trunk, and the back of the car sagged. But next to him, on the front seat, the mother-in-law put her substantial body, and the car leveled out. Let's go, she commanded. And Carl, tell me everything, like you would confess to a priest, so I can understand and plan a strategy for your reconciliation. There's not much to tell, Carl began. Mindy filed for divorce. Did you cheat on her? Oh, God forbid. It never even crossed my mind. Is it true? The mother-in-law asked distrustfully. Yes, it's true. She has other arguments. She's tired of the boring life with me. She wants a glamorous life. And what's that? The mother-in-law asked in surprise. Well, it's beauty salons, appearance, fitness clubs, resorts, and apparently, I'm to blame for not being able to provide her with this glamour. So she doesn't want to live with me. What a viper. Resorts, she says. Her mother has never been to these resorts, and her father is just as much a hard worker as I am. And who does she think she is? Our glamorous girl throwing a tantrum over fat? The mother-in-law was outraged. And now the fat she's accumulated, apparently I'm to blame for that too. Well, Carl, calm down. Somehow, with joint efforts, we'll put this viper in her place, the mother-in-law consoled Carl. And what about Sarah? Carl asked. Sarah cries every day, asking Mindy not to do this. And she says she's too young to teach her mother how to live. Maybe this viper found herself a lover, the mother-in-law asked suspiciously. What do you think, Carl? The mother-in-law asked. I don't know, Mom, but I don't recognize my Mindy. It's as if she's been replaced. Well, does this glamour require a lot of money? The mother-in-law asked. A lot, Carl said resignedly. Mama, Mindy asked, surprised. What happened? Where's Dad? Why are you here? So I came to find out what's happening with you, my dear. Why are you breaking up your family? Dad is fine. He couldn't come because the ducklings have hatched, and he's taking care of things at home, Mindy replied. She gave Carl a disapproving look. At that moment, Sarah ran out of the room, hugged her grandmother, and started crying. My girl, the grandmother lamented. You're ruining the child. Those damn parents. Did you ever cry, Mindy, as a child? Your father and I took care of you, although there were times we protected your young soul from all kinds of grief. And what are you thinking? You know, Mom, thanks for the treats, of course, but why don't you go home and raise the ducklings? We'll sort things out here without you, Mindy said sharply. And I'm not going anywhere. Carl invited me, so I'll stay as long as I want. Where will I sleep? Or will my daughter refuse to give me a place to sleep? Why would I refuse? Sleep in the room with Sarah. I'll bring you some bedding now. Let's have dinner first, Mom, then my husband will go to sleep, Mindy said apologetically. Oh, I wouldn't mind having dinner. I'm hungry from the trip, Carl. The mother-in-law addressed her son-in-law with a hint of sarcasm toward her daughter. I'm told not only am I not refused a place to sleep, but you're also going to defeat us. Mindy served dinner for two and then demonstratively went to her bedroom. So, where are you sleeping? The mother-in-law asked. In the living room. I've been refused a place in the bedroom. And when is the divorce? In a month. Well, we still have time. I hope we can manage, the mother-in-law said uncertainly. Do you have any vodka? Yes, I'd have a drink to calm my stress, the mother-in-law said. Carl took vodka from the fridge, poured it into shot glasses, and the mother-in-law tightly closed the kitchen door. They needed to think things over and come up with a strategic plan to bring Mindy back into the family. So, behind the closed kitchen doors, a plan was being devised that might return Mindy to her family and possibly make her forget about these outbursts in her miserable life. In the morning, after Carl had left for work, Linda awkwardly talked alone with her daughter and reminded her of her son-in-law's virtues. Mindy, think about it yourself. So you're going to divorce Carl, and then what? Will you have money for your glamour? Carl is a good guy. He doesn't drink, brings his salary home, doesn't fool around with other women, loves Sarah, and obviously loves you. If he doesn't want to divorce you, what more do you want from a man? Mindy jumped up as if she had bitten her tongue. Good guy, she repeated after her mother. He's as good as a rock that doesn't let the water flow. Instead of finding a better paying job, he clings to that auto repair shop and stays there like a lump. Mindy, what are you saying? Is he really just sitting around? His job is not an easy one. And what should he be looking for? You know how tough the job market is. Yes, he doesn't earn millions, but you're not a millionaire's daughter yourself, so come down to earth. If you get divorced, at least there's a chance to find a decent husband. I'm tired of being a slave to my family, Mindy retorted. What perspective? Look at yourself in the mirror. There are plenty of young and beautiful women. Why would a wealthy man be interested in you? The mother tried to reach her daughter. Or have you already hooked up with some guy? That's enough of you trying to educate me. I haven't hooked up with anyone, and I don't have time to go back and forth with you. It's time for me to go to work. And you, Mom, I advise you to go home and take care of the ducklings. Has your new job changed you so much? Ever since you started working as a rich person's maid, you've been blinded by their wealthy lifestyle. You need to understand, silly. You and Carl are working class. The life you see among the rich is their life, not yours. But Mindy had already slammed the door and didn't hear her mother's last words. She was tuning out everything Linda said. She had her own opinions and dreams, where mechanic Carl, still her husband, had no place. Her mother was a woman stuck in the past. What did she see in her village? In the evening, Carl and the mother-in-law again locked themselves in the kitchen. They had a shot each and whispered for a long time about how to annoy Mindy. The next morning, when Carl had left for work, Linda awkwardly and sadly told her daughter, "Well, Mindy, Carl has realized that it's useless to try to convince you that family is the most important thing, and he agrees to the divorce and the division of the apartment." What division? Mindy yelled. How can it be divided? I don't know. The court will decide how to divide it. Your father will be upset. I hope his heart doesn't give out. But the daughter no longer heard her mother. She was all emotional, outraged at the thought of dividing the apartment. Don't you need to go to work? Linda tried to change the subject. I work every other day, but you can shout here if you like. While I'm going to Julia's, not for a visit, Mindy replied. Julia is Linda's school friend. When Linda visited her daughter, she met with her childhood friend almost every day. In the evening, after work, Carl came home with a bouquet of flowers. He put them in a vase and went to take a shower. What's with these pointless efforts? Mindy asked. When Carl, clean-shaven and smelling of perfume, came out of the bathroom, you can shove those flowers up here. The flowers are not for you, Carl replied calmly. For the mother-in-law. Then Mindy asked with a smirk, as a token of appreciation for her friendship against me. No, not for Mom. I'm going to the theater. Mindy blinked in surprise. She and Carl had never gone to the theater together, and now, suddenly, Carl was going there alone. Going to the theater alone? Mindy asked, astonished. Not alone, Carl replied, trying on one shirt after another. Mindy was surprised by his preparations. She used to be indifferent about what Carl wore as she managed his wardrobe, but now something was clearly off. "And where's Mom?" Carl asked. "She didn't go with you? Are you and Mom going to the theater?" "No," Carl smirked. "Then why do you need her?" "I wanted to ask her which tie would look better to match with the shirt or the suit." Mindy was silent. She was perplexed by her husband, still her husband, suspicious behavior. "Also, I wanted to let her know not to wait for me," Carl said casually. "Tell her I might not come home to sleep tonight." Carl grabbed the bouquet from the vase and ran off. Mindy, as if in a dream, lay down on the couch and asked herself, what was that? "Mom, Carl went to the theater. He asked me to tell you that he might not come home tonight," she said to her mother, not hiding her surprise. Mindy seemed eager to discuss it and continued, "The way he was getting ready, it was like a theater without a theater. He tried on all his shirts, put on a tie even though he hates them, and ran off with a bouquet like he was out of his mind." Linda was awkwardly silent. "And why are you silent, Mom?" Mindy asked. "Well, I heard Carl ask me to let you know he won't be coming home tonight. What can I say? I'm going to bed." Mindy tossed and turned for a long time, unable to fall asleep. After all, divorce is a stressful matter. Just as she was beginning to doze off, she heard rustling in the apartment. She left her bedroom and saw a satisfied, smiling, slightly tipsy Carl taking off his coat. "Good night," he said, and went to bed. Mindy eventually fell asleep, and in the morning, her mother woke her up. "Mindy, time to get up for work. I saw Sarah off to school, and Carl has gone to work." Mindy was having breakfast with her mother's delicious pancakes while asking questions. "Did Carl say anything?" "He said he liked to play, and that now his life is changing for the better and he'll be going to the theater more often." "What do you mean by for the better?" Mindy asked, bewildered. "Well, I didn't pry into his soul. If he doesn't say anything, it means he doesn't think it's necessary." "I see, but his coat smelled of women's perfume after this theater visit," Mindy noted bitterly. "Well, Carl is quite a handsome man. Since you're getting a divorce, I don't blame him," Linda said calmly. "But we're not divorced yet," Mindy protested. "And he's already carrying on with someone else. You're not divorced, but he is still a man, and you've driven him out of your bedroom." "He's not a eunuch," the mother replied. Mindy fell silent, processing her mother's words. Linda noticed that her daughter was concerned about her husband's behavior, and it occupied her thoughts. She thought, maybe my little viper will come to her senses. You can't change her mind, but it's a pity for the poor thing. She's ruining her own life, Carl's, and Sarah's. After work, Carl came home. Sarah, as always, greeted him with hugs, and the mother-in-law with pastries. Mindy, however, greeted him with a stony silence. From the bedroom, Carl washed up, changed clothes, and left again. Where did Carl go at night? Mindy asked her mother when the door slammed behind him. He said he had some business, Linda answered indifferently. What business at night? Mindy asked suspiciously. I don't know, Linda replied. He just said he definitely wouldn't be coming home to sleep tonight. What a scoundrel. Mindy fumed. We're not even divorced yet, and he's running around like a mad bull at a fair. Why be angry now? Linda said resignedly. Everything is already decided and has been discussed more than once. Carl is a young man. He needs to arrange his own life too. And my life doesn't concern you. Mindy shouted, Why are you so concerned about Carl? I'm more concerned about your life, but you've already decided everything for yourself. What more can I do? And what were you whispering about in the kitchen? You're driving me crazy. Carl once asked me to influence you to save the family, but I tried to talk to you, and both he and I realized it was useless. Your decision is like granite. As you can see, all 8 of our attempts have been in vain. Now you and he are each going your own way. And where does his path lead? Mindy raged. To another woman, if you're interested. Ask him yourself. I can't meddle in personal affairs. I tried to bring you and Carl together, but nothing came of it. I'm going home the day after tomorrow. It's no longer needed. I'm here now. Don't leave, Mom. Mindy cried and threw herself into her mother's arms. It's so hard for me right now. Don't go. I don't understand. First, you drove me away, and now you're asking me to stay. I'm asking you to stay. Carl has another woman. I said I don't know. Ask him yourself. And I will. After work, Carl came home tired and spent a long time in the bathroom taking a relaxing bath with pine extract. After the bath, the mother-in-law called him for dinner, and they again closed the kitchen door. But after about 5 minutes, the door flew open, and Mindy stormed into the kitchen. Stop hiding from me. Who are you hiding from? What are you hiding, Mom? You're acting like a wicked mother-in-law washing dirty laundry behind my back. Mindy yelled. I'm not hiding anything from anyone, Carl said. I asked to close the door so I could consult on what gift to buy for women. And for a wealthy woman, he's limited by money, and he wanted to give a small gift as a token of gratitude for being invited to the theater. I thought that details about my new relationships wouldn't please you, Carl said calmly. That's why I asked Mom to close the door. Mindy's face turned crimson, and her eyes narrowed. She grabbed a plate from the table and slammed it on the floor with all her might. A gift for a wealthy woman? Mindy laughed hysterically. What wealthy woman? Do you think I'm a fool? What does a wealthy woman need from a pauper? I thought you wouldn't like hearing this, so I was trying to spare your nerves, which is why we closed the door. But I didn't expect you to start having a hysterical fit and smashing dishes, Carl explained. And I'm not going to discuss my woman with you. Wow, you've bounced back quickly. There hasn't even been a divorce, and you've already found another woman. Carl finished his dinner, got dressed, sprayed on perfume, and left. Linda awkwardly listened to her daughter, Mindy, crying in the bedroom. After some time, she went into the bedroom, hugged her daughter, and, like when Mindy was a child, rocked her back and forth, stroking her head and lamenting, "Oh, Mindy, my little girl. Who hurt my precious child? I'll give him a piece of my mind, and I'll give him a good talking to. Don't cry, my dear. Everything will be okay." Mindy wrapped her arms around her mother's neck and said, "Mom, it hurts." "Where does it hurt, my little one?" Linda asked. "Here," Mindy said, tapping her chest with her fist. "Let it hurt the dog, let it hurt the cat, but not our Mindy, my little girl." Mindy laughed, and Linda awkwardly laughed too. Sarah ran into the bedroom, having just returned from her walk. "What's so funny here? Why are you laughing?" "I want to laugh with you too," Sarah exclaimed. Mindy got up and went to the bathroom to wash her face. She didn't want Sarah to see her so vulnerable and crushed. "We were just reminiscing about her childhood, so many funny things," Linda said, smiling at her granddaughter. "Oh, Grandma, tell me," Sarah requested. The grandmother hugged Sarah and began to recount stories from little Mindy's life and also reminisced about her own youth. She cried. "It was clear that she was very worried about your new life," Linda told her son-in-law when he came home around midnight. "She's such a pity, the little viper," she smirked. "And Sarah doesn't ask where I am?" Mindy asked her mother. "She does ask. I tell her that you have a lot of work, so you're working late. But it's okay, hopefully everything will work out, and God willing, Mindy will come to her senses." "Mom, did you feed Sarah?" Mindy asked in the morning. "I was so out of it from the sedatives, I didn't hear when Sarah and Carl left." "I fed her, darling. I don't feel like eating at all." "I don't feel like doing anything," Mindy said tiredly. "It's the sedatives, they slow you down," Linda observed. "No, Mom, it's because of Carl." "What does Carl have to do with it, dear? Soon we'll be separated, and everything will be forgotten, like a bad dream." "I understand, divorce is stressful, but don't worry, Mindy. We women are resilient. We'll get through it. You're saying all this now, but all I can think about is the woman Carl considers his own, and it hurts so much inside. Mom, do you know anything about her? Mindy asked her mother with a questioning look. Well, not exactly no, but I know a little. Tell me about her, Mindy. Why do you need to know that? Why torment yourself further? I think it's pointless to find out and compare yourself to someone else. Mom, please, Mindy insisted. Oh, daughter, I don't want to hurt you more. Well, all right, she's a client of Carl's, a wealthy client. She's been bringing her car to their service station for a long time. She's always pursuing him, and he's been telling her that he's married, that he loves his wife and daughter, but she wouldn't listen. And now what? Now he's free. It's just a matter of the official divorce. Now you're each living your own lives. Tears were rolling down Mindy's cheeks. She never thought she would be so upset about Carl's new mistress. It seemed to her now that Carl could not do better than her, that no one could be more beautiful than her. But she was afraid to admit this to herself. Linda continued her story. She has a 3-story mansion and a network of beauty salons. Her daughter is grown and lives abroad. She wants to buy Carl a car dealership so that he'll have his own business. That's pretty much all I know. And her woman has a 3-story house, and he'll be dividing our apartment, Mindy fumed. He said he wouldn't divide it with a car dealership. He'll earn enough for whatever he wants. Look at him now, right? A king's cousin, a minister's son-in-law. Mindy was furious. Well, daughter, everyone has their own destiny. And why be angry? It's not like he started the divorce. I'll show him the divorce. He won't get a divorce at all. I'm going today to withdraw the application. Maybe you shouldn't withdraw it. At least let Carl be happy. You said yourself that you're not satisfied with a pauper. Maybe you'll get something out of it. Mom, are we so poor that we have to wait for scraps from the table? What are you talking about now? No, even if he wants to divorce me himself, Mindy flashed her mother the finger. He wanted a sweet life. She fumed. But you, Mindy, wanted a sweet life, which is why you filed for divorce. And it turns out that Carl will get that sweet life by sleeping with her. Don't you dare bring God into this. Mindy was outraged. I'll make him have a sweet life, that scoundrel. Mindy, why are you so angry now, and why call him a scoundrel? Because he's lucky with another woman and unlucky with you? No, my dear. I'm suffering with him, so let him suffer with me. No rich women for him. If you're going to stay angry and take it out on him, he'll run away from you without a second glance. If you want to keep him for yourself, you need some feminine cunning and affection. Otherwise, you'll only speed up his departure. He'll run away before the divorce. Mindy thought for a moment. Maybe her mother was right. She needed to approach this with cunning. Today, she had a day off work, and she decided to dedicate it entirely to herself. She went to a salon, got a haircut, styled her hair, had a manicure and pedicure. She returned home in a good mood. Carl had already come home from work and was in the bathroom. Mindy decided to play the role of a woman who was also sought after by a man, so she announced to her mother, so Carl could hear, I've been invited to a restaurant, and I don't know if I'll be back home tonight or not. Let him experience my situation, Mindy thought. Let him know that men invite me out too. Going with friends? Linda asked. No, not with friends, Mindy replied angrily. Who goes to a restaurant alone? My mother is no conspirator, Mindy thought. She's a real slowpoke, can't even play along. Mindy left, and Carl stared questioningly at his mother-in-law. She has no one. It's a challenge in contrast to you, new mistress, Linda reported. Carl believed Linda, but a nasty feeling crept into his heart. His mood as a victor diminished. Linda noticed Carl was bothered by Mindy's restaurant outing but decided not to tell him that Mindy planned to withdraw the divorce application. Let them worry and appreciate each other, understand what they might lose, she thought. Linda called her husband, Alex. Alex, is everything okay? How are the ducklings? Everything's fine, Linda. The ducklings are growing. I love you so much, Linda. I miss you. Has something happened? He asked worriedly. He hadn't heard her express love in a long time, and he hadn't told her he loved her either, so he was startled to hear it. No, my dear, nothing has happened. I just love you and miss you, Linda replied. Alex's heart eased, and he asked, When will you come back, Linda? It's dreary without you. As soon as I sort everything out here, I'll come back. She kept her heart for Alex and said nothing about Mindy, who, although they still thought of her as their little one, had long since grown up and was no longer small in years or stature. Those vipers are daughter Mindy. What are you sorting out, my helmsman? Alex laughed. Life is what you sort out, Linda. Life. Well, hurry up because we need a helmsman here too. Linda talked to her husband and was about to go to bed when she noticed that the kitchen light was on. Carl, why aren't you going to bed? Tomorrow is a work day. Go to sleep. Carl looked at his mother-in-law with such a gaze that Linda's heart ached with pity. Mom, did we overdo it with the wealthy client who's infatuated with me? Yes, let's talk more about her, but not in front of Mindy. She's really upset, even cried. Where is she now? And with whom? In which restaurant? Her heart's not in the right place. Probably at her friend Katniss's. What restaurants? And if she's really at a restaurant where wealthy men who make dreams about her go, that's where she is. She's like that. If some rich guy takes an interest in my Katia, so what? Carl, don't sulk. Act. Call Mindy and tell her to come home urgently. What if she asks why? Tell her you have a ticket to the Canaries for the morning. Say that your friend gave you a surprise and just informed you, and you can't find your beach trunks. But I've never had beach trunks and don't have a foreign passport. Carl was surprised. It doesn't matter if you don't have them, just tell her that and that's it. Maybe you've already got the passport. She won't even think about it. As soon as she hears about the Canaries, she'll forget everything and come running. What Canaries? Mindy screamed. I'm coming over right now, and I'll give you such Canaries that you'll never forget. Mindy threw her phone onto the couch. You can't imagine that scoundrel planning a trip to the Canaries while his wife is still alive, planning to sunbathe there with his mistress. I'm going to go, and I'll tie him up if I have to, and won't let him go anywhere. Well, don't get too hot-headed there. If you plan to continue living with him, don't blame the mistress. You know how men don't like scandal. Carl will raise his peacock tail and run off to where there is peace, calm, and divine grace. She's coming over now, Carl informed his mother-in-law. She said she'd give me such Canaries. There will be a grand scandal. There won't be, Linda said confidently. Now go to the bedroom, undress, and wait for her, my little viper. She'll try to smoke you out of there, and you should stay put. Tell her that I snore, that I'm disturbing your sleep with my snoring, and that's why I took your place in the living room. And then, well, do I have to teach you? You miss her, and she foolishly misses you too. Tell her you love her, and believe me, everything will work out. I'm not sure, Carl said sadly. When was the last time you told her you loved her? Linda asked. Carl pondered. I don't even remember. The mother-in-law said, and she thinks that your love is no longer love, but just the way things are. Would I be living with her if I didn't love her? You men are so stingy with words of love, and we women need those words, always. The longer we live with you men, the more we need them. Do you think she wants to go for that fitness and Botox? It's because she feels unattractive. There's a bit of fat here, a wrinkle there, and her husband hasn't told her for a long time how beautiful and loved she is. That's where the outbursts start. Here's what I'll tell you, Carl, we live with each other out of love, but over the years, we stopped confessing our love. We talk about everything else, work, problems, household issues, the weather, illnesses, but not about love. We think it's unnecessary, but love is the main thing. Everything else is trivial. Remember that, Carl, and tell Mindy often that you love her. When a woman feels and is sure that she is loved, she won't think about Botox or fitness, and she won't file for divorce. Love doesn't seek love. It was a Saturday morning. Linda was busy in the kitchen, and sleepy Sarah, in her nightgown, came running at the smell of her grandmother's cooking. "Oh, Grandma, what smells so good?" "It's a cottage cheese casserole, just pulled it out of the oven. Look how golden brown it is, just like Sarah's cheeks." Grandma smiled. "How much I love you, Grandma." Sarah hugged Linda. "And I love you too, my little otter." Linda thought to herself, the child's mind isn't filled with nonsense, so she still remembers that the main reason God created us is love. That's why, in the morning, the child shares her love. "And where are Mom and Dad?" Sarah asked. "Today's a day off, aren't they home?" "Yes, they're still asleep. They worked hard all week, so they're catching up on sleep." "Let them sleep, and we'll have breakfast together." "Who's planning to have breakfast without us?" Carl said as they walked into the kitchen, hugging. Seeing them happy and content, Sarah rushed to hug and kiss them with tears in her eyes. "Hooray!" Sarah shouted. "You've made up." Hooray, peace, friendship, and chewing gum. The mother-in-law was pouring tea into cups and smiling happily. "I'm leaving on the evening flight," Linda said. "Alex said the hand is sitting, and it needs to be sat on to hatch the chicks." "Mom, stay with us a little longer," Carl asked. "No, Carl, my grandfather is missing me, and he needs a helmsman. Men need men, women can't do without us. You should come visit us in the summer. I'll show you such a fitness hall, nobility, relaxation, and tanning that others only dream of. Also, as the hall instructor, I won't charge you but will instead treat you to vegetables, berries, and fruits." Everyone laughed together. "And Carl, don't admit to Mindy that your wealthy client is a complete lie. Let that little viper think you're a man who even a rich lady would chase after," the mother-in-law advised her son-in-law. "But just say that there was no intimacy with that rich woman and that you didn't even kiss her. Say you waited a year to be honest, otherwise, you'll be hearing accusations of things that never happened for the rest of your life. And most importantly, don't forget to tell your wife more often how beautiful she is and that you love her." "Thank you, Mom, for the lesson. What would we do without you?" Carl said. "There was a smell of women's perfume on your jacket," Mindy said, smiling and squinting her left eye as she asked her mother. "Oh, that evening I visited Dave, the motorcyclist, and asked his wife to spray me with her perfume," Carl explained. They all laughed heartily. "Mindy is lucky with her husband, but if anything comes up, call me for help." As they say, good luck, Carl. The mother-in-law hugged her son-in-law tightly and kissed him 3 times on both cheeks. "What, Carl? Aren't you saying anything about your mother-in-law?" the helper teased. Carl's supervisor, Richard, added, "Or did she cause even more of a commotion, and she made her exit with her broom?" "Richard, watch your foul language." "Not everyone appreciates your jokes," Carl retorted angrily. "Only my mother-in-law does. She's like a mother to me, and I won't let anyone say anything bad about her. I would tear anyone apart for my mother-in-law."